When you know how to think, it empowers you far beyond those who know only what to think.
Thinking is uncomfortable. It takes effort.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I have a dream. You can't handle the truth.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Wrong.
I'm trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
Free at last. Free at last. Thanks God Almighty. Free at last.
Hello, friends. This is your boy, Mark Trinidad, and welcome to another episode of Mark Trinidad. I don't know shit. The reason this particular podcast came to be is because I am, at least humble enough to be able to recognize that I don't know a lot of stuff, but I'm curious enough that I want to know more. So on this particular podcast, I invite people that have knowledge in different industries, ideologies, things that I don't know about, but they're experts in, and they come here and they try to teach me some stuff. So today, I'll be speaking to Mike Rowbotham, and Mike is a wrestling coach. As a matter of fact, he was coaching one of my kids, and that's how we met. We get into it more on this particular podcast, and he's going to teach me as much as possible so that I could be a little more educated in my conversations about said topic. I also, as you guys know, like to wear a geeky jersey from my friends geekyjerseys.com that coincides or relates to my guest every single show. And on today's show, I wore my Cobra Kai jersey, of course, because, Cobra Kai, martial arts, wrestling, part of the MMA grouping, right? So I hope he enjoys that. I hope he's a fan of the show or fan of the series, depending on how old he is. And yes, I'd like to thank my good friend Jay Bird Digital Arts for the incredible artwork that he does for us every single show. Our logo, our layovers, I believe is the proper term. Thank you very much, Jay Bird. And if you need to reach him, this is the contact information. Get on to him, get yours done too. But anyhow, let's go and join our good friend Mike and see if we can learn together. On with the show. Hey, what's up, guy?
What's happening?
You look like you're very comfortable right now. Did you have a shower and get ready for this little Zoom call?
Oh yeah.
You're not looking like the guy that I know from all the huge beard, like the lumberjack, like you were trying to kill grizzly bears. What happened? Where's all the beard gone?
Oh God, that's actually a ridiculous story. So my brother got married back in September, and I decided that, I was going to get myself a little trimmed up. So I grabbed the clippers, and I thought that I had looked at what size it was. Turns out, nope. And I took it right down to like 1/8 of an inch or something like that.
Oh no. So this was a little war that you lost. Oh.
So I wound up going to the wedding, and I always have the longest beard of my brothers, and I wound up having the shortest one for the first time ever.
I feel for you, guy. I feel us bearded people, we like to see that the bearded people stay together. It's a little bit of a family. It's a unit. It's our Viking squad. And now we have to wait for you to grow up and hit adolescence once again to come into the fullness of the beard.
I know, it's like you lose half your power when you cut it off. It's sad.
Yeah, what was that story? Was it Hercules? No, Samson. It was a Samson.
Yeah, with the hair.
That was the one. Yeah, but he had hair, not beard. Whatever. There's too many stories to remember. I'm too old to remember all these stories. I just know it was a story. So, okay, are you on the ground? Are you comfortable, sir? Because we're going to have a conversation about things you know about and things that I know little about.
Sure.
You understand? Did I explain to you the concept behind the podcast?
No.
Okay. All right, I'll break it down. This podcast, vlog, YouTube thing that I'm doing because I have a lot of spare time as a comedian with no comedy clubs open anymore. I started this vlog called Mark Trinidad, I Don't Know Shit. because I'm very humble with the fact that I'm not knowledgeable in a lot of things, but I'm very curious by nature. So I want to learn more. Hence the reason I got you on, because you're a coach in wrestling and I love the UFC, and wrestling is a part of the skill set that you need to have to be successful in this lovely UFC thing that I like to watch. So I figured you'd be a good person to try and introduce me into that world, because I'm absolutely, I see stuff, but I don't know what the hell is going on.
Sure.
All right. So first of all, please introduce yourself to my lovely 3 viewers that will be watching this at some point. I only have like 3. It's like my mom and my kids. That's about it.
Well, my name is Mike Rowbotham. I'm the wrestling coach over at Empire MMA in Barrie.
Which is how we met.
Yeah. Your daughter was coming in to my classes for a while, which
yes,
is very talented young woman.
Hey, the kid got skills, but I'm one of those parents that I try to introduce them to as much as possible and see what sticks. You know, some parents want to force kids into things that they don't have a desire for. My thing is I introduce everything and see what thing they like, and then be like, all right, full tilt, let's go, until you get tired, and then we change, or whatever it is that happens, you know. So one of my kids, that's how we met, through Empire, and you were teaching her wrestling there. And she, by the way, I think you'd be very proud of the fact that she got me in an arm bar, and it hurt a lot, and I won't be wrestling with her anymore.
Well, that's a strong young woman that you're dealing with. So
yeah,
it happens, man.
I think she has testosterone somewhere in her cupboard that she keeps sipping on or something. Anyway, so okay, so how did you get involved in wrestling? Where did it begin? I mean, you're Canadian, right?
Yeah, okay, I'm Canadian. My dad wrestled back in high school. He was a Peel regional champion. So down in Toronto.
So you have pedigree.
Well, it's not like he was that like very good. Out of the 5 years of high school, he won the regional championships the one time. And then the guy that was usually beating on him was an offset champion, I think like 3 times, named Eddie Falcioni. So my dad wrestled. Yeah, he's the coach at Camp Olympia.
Okay, so that's a good coach.
Yeah, really good coach. His son or nephew, his name's Zach, wound up being on the national team for a few years, maybe about 10 years ago. So yeah, they got some heritage behind them. So nice. I always heard about wrestling from my dad, and I was always a pretty physical kid growing up. Yeah. So when I got into grade 9, I started wrestling with my high school. And, you know, my parents were a lot like you, you know, like, try whatever you like, and whatever sticks, we'll support you as much as we can.
Yeah.
So my parents and the coaches wound up starting a wrestling club, merging 3 of the high schools, wound up becoming 4 the next year. But yeah, merged basically all the high schools that wrestled in Barrie into one team. Yeah, we just sort of took off from there.
And wrestling is more, looking at the sports that you have access to in Canada, hockey, baseball. Okay, if we compare basketball, if we compare those sports in comparison to wrestling, wrestling's kind of a very affordable sport to get involved in, because you get shoes and you get a singlet and maybe the ear pads.
Yep.
So it's much more affordable than hockey. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Baseball is still cheap. I think it's still cheaper than baseball, and it could be done indoors.
Yeah. The thing about wrestling, right, is that when you're just starting off, you don't even need the singlet. You don't need the shoes, right? You just start off with like showing up with a shirt, some shorts, and a pair of running shoes, right? That'll get you by for the first little bit. And then as you get more and more competitive, then obviously you're going to need more things. But, you know, if you're on a high school team, more often than not, they have a team singlets. that you end up wearing, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, really affordable sport. I want to say that it probably costs you $100 for the season when you're wrestling with the high school team.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's real cheap. But like once you start going into more tournaments and that kind of thing, each tournament's going to cost you about, $25 plus the day cost, right? Nationals ends up
That's
being more.
still nothing in the grand scheme of all the sports that you could participate in. That's still nothing in comparison.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And the benefits of wrestling, I mean, the camaraderie, you're on a team sport, even though you're on a team, but you're kind of singular in that you're fighting alone against one person. It's not like a team, like, baseball, right? You're one-on-one.
Well, that's
but
the
it's
thing
still
that
team.
I really loved about it, to be honest with you, is that when you're competing, it's 100% on you. But during the practice and outside of when you're actually competing, you have a lot of obligations and commitments to the people around you, right? So
Right.
if you miss practice, that's not just affecting you, that's affecting the team too.
Right.
So, but
Because there's a points aspect it. It's
Pardon?
Besides the camaraderie and letting down your team, in terms of if competition, there's a points thing involved in it as well. Like sometimes.
Okay. There's at different championships, there is like a team championship, right?
Right.
Or like a team title. And then sometimes you'll have a thing called a dual meet, which is basically like, a team versus a team. And each match will end up being worth a certain amount of points depending on how your team wins or loses that match.
So you said that's called a dually?
A dual meet.
A dual meet. Okay, yeah. So a dual meet, you get to compete for, let's say, your weight category. Is it age groups or weight categories?
Both.
It's both. Okay, so you have to you're in a certain age group and you have to be in a certain weight category as well. Okay, both. All right. And so you compete as an individual, but because let's say you're representing your school, the school has different kids in all these things and all of their matches add up a point total.
Right. So
and then the team wins. Okay.
When you're in a dual meet, it'll be one school versus another school, right?
Right.
And say it's a dual meet between the boys and you have 10 weight classes that are going to compete, right?
Right.
Each of those 10 matches will happen. And at the end, the score will be combined. But what happens is, say if I win by a pin, then by
a pin. Okay, yeah, pinning. Okay.
Yeah, pin shoulders to the mat, keep them there for right. So if I win by a pin, I'll get 5 points, and that team will get 0.
Right.
Follow?
Right.
But if I win by technical superiority, so I get ahead by 10 points, match is called, then I'll get 4 points.
That's a mercy rule.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I'll only get 4 points.
Right.
Now, in that scenario, if my opponent managed to score on me even 1 point, he gets 1 point for his team. But if he doesn't score on me at all during that match, then he gets 0. Right.
So if he manages to at least pull off 1 point on you, even though that you've run up the score 17-1, whatever the numbers are, once he gets a point, his team gets 1 point for being able to pull a number on you.
Right.
Right. Okay. Woo. All right. Dude, I'm not that smart, eh? I have to make these, you'll see my eyes trying to connect the things because I'm like, okay, I think I got it. All right. So
the easiest way to think of it is like the points get closer, the closer the match becomes. So if I win by pure domination, pinning the guy, I get 5, they get 0, right?
Yes. And
then the closer the match actually becomes, the closer the points are, right?
Right. But in terms of the going forward, the total for the team, just the fact that he's able to take a point off of you. It doesn't matter if it's 17-16, it's 17-1. They get 1 point towards the team total, the school or whatever team it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're getting it.
If I break out into a sweat, it's because I had coffee, not because I'm stupid and the brain is working. And you get the point. All right. I'm not that smart, man. Right? Okay. So how long have you been coaching?
Since 2004.
I'm doing the math. Okay, that's over 15 years.
17 years? Yeah, 17 years.
So, okay, 17 years.
Yeah, I started wrestling like fall of 2003, and then I started coaching in like fall of 2004. I was helping out with an elementary school team up the road from my high school.
Did you always want to get into coaching, or was it just, somebody I have comedians that say they were needled by friends into, you know what, you're funny, you should try, is coaching something that you always saw that there was potential for you to get involved in, or it's just you love the sport and you want to stay in it?
I think it's probably closer to the latter. It's more along the lines of wrestling's given me a lot in life, and I feel like there's only two ways to make something better, and you can either leave it or join it. So yeah. I try to stay in it to contribute to the sport in some way, shape, or form. Yeah,
kind of like I've been involved in stand-up comedy. I can't leave it. I just can't leave it. It's just it's ingrained in me. I've been doing it for so long. It's like, okay, what do I do now? And I started putting on shows and stuff like that now. So in terms of, okay, wrestling on the whole, there's different subcategories of wrestling, if I understand, because there's some at the Olympics. Yeah. There's something called Greco wrestling. So what are the subcategories of wrestling?
So the main ones that you'd really have to worry about are there's freestyle wrestling and Greco-Roman wrestling.
Greco-Roman, okay.
Yeah, those are the two that are in the Olympics.
And that's the one you want your kids in because it applies to scholarships and stuff like that, I'm assuming.
Freestyle is the only one that in Canada we compete in at like a university or school level.
Freestyle. Right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between the freestyle and the Greco-Roman wrestling? Greco-Roman.
So, freestyle, you can attack anywhere on the body. Greco-Roman, you can only attack above the waist. So you're not allowed to trip. You're not allowed to grab the legs in any way. It's purely upper body.
So that leans towards more strength of an individual as opposed to, well, there's technique involved as well too, but if you're only manhandling the upper half of the body and you don't have trips involved.
No, you'd be really surprised. It's all about leverage and positioning.
Yeah, physics will always come into play.
Yeah, there's one guy who wrestled for Canada out of Montreal back in like the early 90s, late 80s. But this guy was he was shaped like a bowling ball, in all honesty. He was probably like 5'8" and like 290 pounds, just big honking guy. But because he was so short, what he would end up doing is he just had to get underneath people. And the second he got underneath them, he'd get them up onto his belly and he'd use that as like a table, right? And just carry them on there and then figure out, okay,
which way do I lean? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But most of the guys that are people in wrestling, they're not tall. They're generally short, which I guess because of a low center of gravity, they're harder to move. And it lends to having basically shorter muscles that might be more explosive, I guess.
Yeah, there is the occasional, tall and long guy. Example, one of the greatest wrestlers ever, his name's Buvasir Satyev, out of Russia.
Don't know that guy. Was that the bear guy that didn't lose in the Olympics until the American kid?
No, that's Alexander Karelin.
Oh, okay.
So Satyev, He won the Olympics in 96, 2004, 2008. I want to say he won them in 2012.
So he retired for 8 years, came back and still won again?
No, he didn't win them in 2000 because he
Of
lost in the
American kid.
semifinals to an American named Brandon Slay. But Satyev specifically is a very long and lanky guy. And he managed to win multiple world championships. Matter of fact, he was so good. One year he decided he didn't want to go. So they sent his brother instead. And his brother won the world championships without giving up a point.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Right? Like, could you imagine being the brother, right? And like, they still live at home. That's the type of culture they come from. So
Yeah.
if they still live at home, imagine being a world champion and knowing that you can't even beat the guy down the hall.
Yeah. Or the guy sharing the bedroom, as the case may be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at those Dagestanis. I mean, the cousin is all right. So the Dagestanis we're talking about is what's his name? Oh my God, Khabib, right?
Yeah.
Khabib's cousin right now. They're saying that his cousin is actually better than him. He's fighting in Bellator.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, imagine being able to be such a dominant champion, and he has the ability to say, "Yo, I'm not even as good as my cousin."
Oh yeah.
Right? This come on, man. This is weird. Okay. It's like all the sprinters come from Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
Even when you look at the 100-meter dash, right? Jamaica has been, I mean, dominant in both the men's and the women's short distance running. All right. But even when the Jamaicans are beaten by Americans, you know, or the occasional British sprinter, when you check their genealogy, grandpa's from Jamaica, dad is a Jamaican transplant. They've been there's a Japanese runner, Jamaican mom, right? So what is it about right now? We're looking at the UFC. What is it about Dagestan? What is it about Russia specifically that has these wrestlers just being so dominant right now?
Well, Russia's been dominating in wrestling forever. And I mean that, like, forever. And frankly, I think they just have the program down to perfection. It's a combination of a few things. One, you get elite level coaching as a child. You don't have to wait until you're 20 to get that elite level coaching. You get it early. Two, you start very early. And three, everybody there does it, right? It's kind of like, you know, playing hockey.
It's like the cultural sport.
Yeah, everybody does it. So now imagine if you're going to school with, you know, 30 other boys, right? And you're the one kid that doesn't know how to fight.
Yes.
Good luck, right?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, good luck to you. So everybody knows how to wrestle.
And just like with the example I use of Jamaica, when it's a cultural thing and they start winning, there's just some momentum that occurs. Yeah. The more they win, the more people want to get their kids into it younger, the more money gets fueled into it. And then that ball just keeps. So what's the problem with Canada and trying to, you know, get, well, I guess in North America, there's so many distractions in terms of, you know, different sports that you have the access to. It's hard to be able to build up that momentum unless it's hockey, right? Because that's Canada's thing, hockey.
Yeah.
Right. When I left Trinidad, right? Me and my wife, when we left Trinidad, I remember, so I used to play soccer when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I was a goaltender, right? Because I have no problem with jumping. I have a problem with running, but jumping, I'm kind of cool with. And then jumping at guys' legs, no problem at all. I could do that too, right? I was a heavy little.
Touch the face, you're in. You know?
No problem at all. I'm not that attractive, you know, take it out, right? But playing for my school is about as far as you could go unless you get onto the national team, because we had no professional forum. There's no Manchester United. There's no Liverpool. There's no professional league to play at the time. It's changed now, but at the time there was nothing. So in terms of sports, accessibility, a lot of kids just got very discouraged. There's no basketball league at the time. Things are flowing now. It's different, but at the time, nothing. So leaving and coming to Canada, we looked at it. We looked at Canada and said, you know, you have access to a university at every corner. In that university, you have access to all these different sports. Far less for you know, the amount of schools there are outside that are just dedicated to a particular sport, but you had so much more access to get involved in something that could become beneficial to you to go to school, right? Getting scholarships and stuff, but there's also professional tournaments and leagues available to you. Didn't have that in Trinidad. What is it in terms of wrestling? Is there a wrestling league? Is there, you know, tournaments that take place on a national level? Is there regionals? Is there that kind of setup involved outside of school and a professional circuit?
So it's a great point that you made there. So when I started wrestling for my high school into October of 2003, our team had 5 people. Okay. I wrestled at 74 kilos, which is probably like 167 pounds.
You're a little skinny kid.
Yeah. And my main training partner was a 140-pound girl.
And that's another thing that happens in wrestling too. You can get, I don't know, is that new now? That because I've seen movies about it, I guess, but you know, girls having to wrestle boys because they didn't have enough competition, or what's the whole story with the co-ed wrestling?
No,
I've seen it occur.
That happened like, you know, way back in the day. Canada's been pretty ahead when it comes to women's wrestling. We started having our first women's nationals, I want to say in 95, 96.
Right.
And then women's wrestling got into universities probably shortly after that. And it got into the Olympics in 2004. Right. So on a women's level, Canada's actually very successful for us. But on the men's level, if I can sort of get back to the beginning, when I started wrestling, we only had 5 people on the team, right? When I left, we had about 15, right? And then I came back the next year, and the next year is when, like, you know, the UFC had really boomed. And it was, you know, it was a really big deal. Olympics were coming around because it was, you know, the Olympic year, 2008.
Yep.
And the team was so big that they needed to have 2 practices. Right?
The growth that took place. Yeah.
Yeah. The growth that happened just over that short span was a combination of our team was seeing success, because we had gone from not having won an awesome medal since I think 97, 98.
Right.
And then I won a gold in 2007.
Look at you with your gold medals and thing. Show off. Go on. Pick up yourself.
So when you get that combination of, like, you know, now people see that, like, you know, wrestling has another avenue.
Yeah.
Right. And our team is actually good. You know, all of a sudden it really started to take off. Right. But it was hell in a handbasket trying to get people to come out and try it. Right.
What do you think of the whole? Well, okay, so my background in martial arts goes way back. I started off in judo, liked judo. Yeah, I did judo as a kid, but I was a small young'un, right? But I've always been very rotund. I guess that's the word that they use for fat back in my day. Anyway, I was a little stocky kid, right? I have is it called mesomorph? Fat. Okay, so I was a fat kid. And from judo, because I had an uncle that was into karate, I got into karate. Didn't like him very much. And then I moved off to Kung Fu and I ended up in Aikido. So that's my martial arts background, right?
Right.
In our martial arts background, from my generation, everybody used to talk about which particular style was the best. Is judo better than Aikido? Is Kung Fu better than... To see the UFC come into play and people using mixed martial arts has been, oh my gosh, such a wonderful thing, because you get to answer those age-old questions of which style is better. And then Bruce Lee's philosophy came in of, take from everybody, throw out the shit that don't work, right? And that's been wonderful to watch. Now, in terms of your background, and you look at wrestling, and that's where your base is, when you saw the UFC coming into play, how did you see that? Did you see that as, oh no, they're changing everything and stay true to the art form? Or did you see, hey, this is a way that, we can progress the art form? How did your philosophy, how did you see it going?
No, actually, funny enough, the UFC is part of one of the reasons I got into wrestling. Late one night, I couldn't tell you when, but I couldn't sleep and I snuck downstairs and I was watching TV and I got to see Tito Ortiz versus Frank Shamrock.
I think I remember that match.
It was an amazing fight.
Yeah.
Frank wound up winning based off of like cardio. He just set a pace that Tito couldn't handle.
Yeah.
But I got to the channel. It was probably on TSN or something. I don't know, but I got to the channel just in time for Tito to be jumping up and down in the corner, right? And at the time, he had like the bleach blonde hair and the flame shorts, right? And
the bad boy era.
Down, So as a kid, I just thought this guy was so cool, right? And then I see that he's a takedown expert, and they start talking about his wrestling background. And then I was like, oh, my dad was a wrestler. And, well, and I want to wrestle. So I got, really inspired
the bug
from the fight. And so that was sort of always in the back of my mind from that point forward.
I'm very inspired by the BJJ, because I look at it now and it just reminds me of solving puzzles.
Yeah.
It's like slip your foot. It's like those, you remember those Chinese torture? Oh my God. Am I allowed to say Chinese? I don't know what to say, but those little metal things that you had to interconnect to try and unlock them and stuff. You remember? No? Okay. So I'm an old guy. All right.
Yeah. I have one around here somewhere.
They're torture devices for people like me, because I never could get it. But I look at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and I see it right now in the UFC. And I look at, okay, what are they trying to do? All right, I understand a few moves in it, but this as they call it, the setting of traps, the moving on one side to make someone think you're going for a particular move and then flip. Oh my God. I mean, that to me, I know a lot of people that watch the UFC want to see the knockouts. It's just natural. Somebody wants to be, excited, see a bing, and a guy drops. But I really like to see when the fight progresses to the floor, because on the floor, it's totally different. Dude, I get excited. My nipples get hard, right?
Yeah, if you got a good technical ground fight going, it can be really exciting.
Dude, I wanted Ben Askren to take that stupid fool, that YouTuber, down and just smash him. Forget the boxing. Everybody wanted to do the what do you call it when you give money? A GoFundMe. They wanted to do a GoFundMe. Just double leg this bitch. I wish it just happened. It was such a debacle. I didn't like it at all. But I'm old. I guess I'm a purist, and I didn't want to see. I hated the fact that here's one art form trying to show this kid trying to show that he's good in one particular art form, picking on people that have no experience in the art form. It's just not right. I mean, no wrestler is gonna go out there and look at a basketballer and say, "Hey, you wanna come try this? Let's make some money off of suckers." Am I being too purist, or are you of that same mindset?
I'm kind of torn, to be honest with you, because I can totally understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, having been in the fight business,
they have to make the money.
Yeah, I just say get your money, right? If you can make your money doing that, go for it.
I get it too, but to me it's snake oil. It's a little bit snake oil.
Let's think realistically. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience either. So when most professional boxers start off, and you can check almost anybody's record, they're going to start off facing tomato cans and not very good guys.
Obviously,
right?
Yeah.
So
you want to face people of your skill level.
Exactly. So that's all Jake Paul's doing right now. It's just the difference is that his first professional fights are all being pay-per-view, and he's one of the main tickets. So
he's not even fighting tomato cans.
Anything that almost every other professional boxer does. It's just he's under the spotlight for it.
Yes, I see your point, right? You have to fight individuals that are close in your skill set to be able to build up. But he's not fighting guys in his skill set.
But that's the thing, is that if you go and you look at name a professional boxer that you're a fan of, and go and look at their first 5 fights, right? And I can almost guarantee you that they're all going to be against guys who have records like 7-21, right? 6
yes.
and 18.
Yes.
That's just, they fight people that have no chance of beating them. 0. Right? Because they're going in there to get the confidence, they're going in there to get the rounds, and being able to execute while under that pressure, et cetera, et cetera. It's all about just building that experience. So in that scenario, I can't really fault him. Is he fighting people that are, quote, boxers? No, but he's not a boxer either. He's trying to be one, but he's not one yet. So, I give the guy a bit of a break.
I give him a break because I understand it's a business and he's trying to make the money, and he has to talk a lot of shit. He has to, do his, because he has a large social media following, right? I get it, but I'm old school, and I like to see. All right, so I had a quarrel with a guy recently, right? Who's my favorite fighter in terms of UFC specifically, and I've always liked Anderson Silva, right, the Spider, because my heroes in the martial arts world have always been the humble giants, right? I prefer, I've always known martial arts, you bow when you're entering the mat, except you give a certain amount of credit to the room, to your instructor. There's respect all the way through. The way that things are progressing now, because of the money-making aspect of it and the trash talking to sell a fight, I'm not a fan. I get it. I watched the Conor McGregor. I see the Jake Paul and what they're doing. Muhammad Ali. What was the wrestler that did it before him? I forget the name, but I understand it. It's a business. You're a prize fighter. You're getting more eyes. You're getting more pay-per-views. More money comes in. But I can't help but say that, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, I like my guys who are humble in their skill set. You know what I mean? Back in my days, getting into fighting was the Bruce Lee philosophy. You learn to fight so that you don't fight. It wasn't that you learn to fight so you could go out there and, pick up your chest and try and, thump somebody in your class. It was all about learning fighting so that when that situation does approach you, you have the ability to say, you know what, I know how, I could end this. I know I could fuck up this dude, right? But because I know I'm dangerous, I I do certain things to make sure that we don't actually fight. See what I'm saying? I guess I grew up in a different time. Everybody nowadays wants to, glorify the knockout and a guy's head bouncing off of concrete on the floor. And
Yeah, it's a little rough to see sometimes.
and it's the reason why I introduced my kids into martial arts, because I wanted them to learn that respect for what you could potentially do to another human being and be able to have that self-confidence that when something does come up, you have the ability to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And I specifically like the soft skills, or the soft styles. Do they still call them that? Soft styles and hard styles?
I've never heard it, but they might.
It's probably an old term, because the soft styles were the circular art forms that were, take judo, for example. You take somebody else's energy and you turn it against them. Same thing with Aikido, right? You had a lot of holes and you had the ability to subdue someone without having to you really damage them per se, right? Karate, Taekwondo, right? Very linear, right? There was a lot of muscle involved in it, punch, kick, right? So those were called the hard styles. So I preferred the soft styles in that I would be able to subdue someone without having to damage them physically, if that makes any sense at all. It's probably why I like jiu-jitsu so much, Brazilian jiu-jitsu so much, because with that, you have the ability to subdue someone without actually hurting them. And somebody of a lesser strength level can beat somebody of a higher strength level. That makes sense?
Yeah.
That's where my mentality lies. I don't know if it's because I've done too much mushrooms and I'm just getting too old and too soft. That might be a problem.
Well, you also need to remember, the whole point of wrestling and the mindset of that is just like, pure domination of your opponent, right? So I appreciate and understand where you're coming from, but from a competitive aspect, you'll lose me.
So, okay, in terms of the Karate Kid, which team would you have been on? Would you have been on Cobra Kai or Team Miyagi, right? Which team would you?
Are we talking like in the original Karate Kids, or are we talking about like Cobra Kai, the Netflix one now? Because those are two difficult questions.
Yeah, there's also Karate Kid, the movie that with Will Smith and his son and Jackie Chan. But okay, let's go original series. Original series, would you gonna be like a Team Miyagi kind of guy?
Oh yes, no, it's Miyagi-Do all the way. Man.
Yeah. Even though I wear the Cobra Kai now, but just because I knew I was talking to you, so I had to, big up my boys. Everything's changed. Everything changed when money gets involved. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of money not being involved in it. But there's no way that we live in a society today of consumerism that money's not going to start to corrupt stuff. It corrupts politics, it corrupts mindsets, it corrupts schools and kids. I'm too old, man. This is my problem in life. Too old.
If in a perfect world, the best fighters should be getting paid the most amount of money. But that's not
so in terms
the world we live in, sadly.
As we turn now, so in terms of the best fighters should be making the most money, how do you feel right now with the John Jones thing that's going on? Because John Jones is fighting for more money for the big fight against Francis Ngannou, right?
Yeah.
And then the UFC that wants to pay as little as possible. Who do you feel should be given up there? Should it be John Jones saying, you know what? I'll go in with the contract that I've already kind of signed? Or do you say, you know what? He should be able to renegotiate for the most money possible?
I think he should be able to renegotiate for sure. But I don't necessarily think that he deserves a new contract for it. I think that he should be able to negotiate for that specific fight because it is so big. And
it's going to be a massive fight. Yeah.
Yeah. But, if they want to do it, fairly, the best thing they could do that they would have to do is, sort of go through the books and be like, okay, well, we lost money on you for this fight, this fight, this fight. We made money off you for this fight, this fight, and this fight. So on average, you bring us, X percent of, revenue. So we'll offer you that.
And his complaint is that he's lost money, not lost money. He's been undervalued in what he has been able to bring in terms of people that buy the pay-per-views. So his argument is that, you've made so much money off of me before because I'm stepping up to a class outside of my normal class, like light heavy. He's going into the heavyweight category. Pay me now for this one-off fight. This is going to be a big one. And with all of the COVID and no fans and stuff like that, it's going to be a big one.
Yeah. I hope he gets as much as he can get, I really do. I don't know if he's necessarily worth 25 million.
No, he probably just shot his shot.
In the sense of I don't know. So I can't choose a side and say that's ridiculous, or I can't say, yeah, pay him the money, because I don't know.
The art in terms of negotiation is you shoot your shot over the bow of where you actually want to meet at. So he was just shooting a shot to get him up to thinking of that number. It's a psychological game. Whoever sets the bar first, sets the tone of the conversation thereafter. Because if he said 100 million, now they'll start to say, well, it has that kind of value mentally, subconsciously, it sticks in your head. And then you start to negotiate at 50. And he only wanted 25. You know what I mean? So it's a whole psychological game that they're playing right there. But I think he should. I see the fact that he should be trying to get his money because he's stepping outside of his zone. But I also see the fact that, you signed a contract. Nobody twisted your arm to sign a damn contract. The UFC knows what they're doing when they sign you up for a 10-fight deal, right? They know. In that 10 fights, potentially you could get into you're fighting for a belt, right? Or you're fighting somebody else who's, on a tear, on a win streak, and they're going to be able to get more eyes on it because of their promotional arm, and they'll make money off of you.
Yeah.
But sign up front. Don't sign
with how
upfront.
the UFC contracts are laid out, they only have to offer him a fight, right? So if he only gets offered the Nagano fight from now until the time he retires, right? And he doesn't want to take it for less than X amount of dollars. By the end of his career, he's going to have left millions of dollars on the table. So at some point, he's definitely going to cave.
I want to see that fight. In the boxing world, we always had fights that we wanted to see. But because of there's so many different arms in the boxing world in terms of belts and categories, and you're probably not going to see the fight. There's so many fights that were left on the table that we wanted to see but never saw. But in terms of MMA and the UFC, we tend to see the fights that we want to see, right? Those little matchups that we think could never happen tend to happen because they're a much younger sport. And I guess the pool from which they draw from is much smaller. So those fights tend to be made much quicker. It might take 2 years to see the fight you want to see. But, in the boxing world, there's fights that you never see. How long have we been waiting to see, what's his name? Tyson Fury against the other British kid. What's his name? Anthony Joshua. I mean, how long are we waiting to see that fight? It's been years already, right?
Well, I mean, they're fighting this year, aren't they? They're fighting in May.
That was on, and then it was off, and then it was on, and then it was off, and now it's on again. Who knows what happens next week, right? Because that was like I'm gonna remember Tony Ferguson and Khabib. How many times was that planned?
Yeah, like 5
or 6 times, right? That the UFC is like, we're never gonna try and make that again, right? The Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua has been planned a few times, and it always falls out in the bargaining. For some reason, those two cats don't want to fight. And that's a mark against.
I think Anthony Joshua does want to fight, to be honest with you. But
I don't know. We want to see them fight, man. There's tons of money sitting down there. Dubai is waiting on that. If they could get that fight, oh my gosh, the sheiks are lining up for that. They'd love it.
Yeah, that's a big fight too. Who do you think will win that?
I don't know. Fury is so long, and he knows how to box, and he knows how to move. He's got great footwork, and Anthony Joshua gets hit too much. I don't know. I think it'll be a good fight, but I think Fury could pull that one out too.
Yeah,
right?
I honestly don't see how Anthony Joshua could beat Tyson Fury. His inside game isn't good enough. And I don't think he's got the delivery system for his punches to get to Tyson before Tyson, smacks him with the jab and circles away.
Tyson has an incredible story behind him to go away from the sport, come back into the sport after, a binge of drugs and cocaine and hookers. His words, not mine. Flipping cars. Yeah. Lose, gain a massive amount of weight, lose that amount of weight, and come back and win. What? Yeah. Who does that kind of nonsense, right? I love those stories, but they're few and far between.
His wife was about to leave him, man.
Oh, that was there too? I didn't even hear about that part of the story. Look, I missed out on that scandal. Oh man.
Yeah. Well, him and Paris have been together since they were like teenagers, right? So
yeah.
She's been with him through thick and thin. So when she told him, like, get your shit together or I'm gone, right? I think that really...
that's what woke him up. It wasn't licking the back of the frog thing. Too much knowledge about drugs, I guess. There's a lot of licking frogs that have gone on in different cultures. That's another thing that fascinates me. Who was the first guy that looked at a frog and was like, you know what?
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay. So
right.
There's a type of thing that we eat in the Caribbean, right? I believe it's cassava. Cassava is edible at a certain time, or you have to cook it in a certain way for it to be edible. But there are times when you don't cook it in that certain way, or it's too green, or whatever it is, it's poisonous. It's cyanide. It's like, how many people had to die for a guy to say, no, we're picking it at the wrong time. No, our cousin is dead. No, trust me on this one, right? Just wait for it to get a little riper, and then is a good... What kind of snake oil salesman, how good a sales rep are you that you're like, no, this blowfish tastes good, but just don't cut that part, right?
I know.
How many people have died over history because of this nonsense?
Yeah.
I've always been amazed by that, man.
Blowfish, like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, I'm sorry, no fish can taste so good that you're willing to die just to have one bite. Like,
if the chef had a bad night.
Yeah. Or maybe the chef just really doesn't like you.
You know what I mean? This is stupid.
Like, what kind of legal ramifications are there for this chef? You probably have to sign a waiver. And
are people signing waivers when they walk in? Because you're consuming something that can kill you.
That's what I'm saying. Is that like the perfect crime? You really don't like your wife, you just take her out for dinner and tip the chef extra large?
That's right. Don't be saying that too loud. This is going out onto the internet, right?
I love my wife. Good.
Warning. I have to put a warning on the screen. Who was the first guy that looked at a tree in Canada and saw a sap coming out of it and said, let me check that, and discovered what I like to put in my coffee, maple syrup? How did that come to pass?
If you're a fan of maple syrup, I'll be sure to bring you a bottle.
Shut the door, guy. You know what I put in my coffee every single time? I'm off of sugar for a while now. It's always maple syrup in my coffee, yo. Oh my God.
My family's had the same sugar shack for, I think, 111 years.
No,
Got it in 1910. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Might I ask where?
Do you know where? You'll definitely not know where Hopeville is. Do you know where Shelburne is?
Shelburne. Yes, I performed in Shelburne. Was it a hotel that I performed? Well, do they call them hotels when it's so small? It was is there a lake close there?
Not really.
Well, there's lakes everywhere.
But basically, if you take Highway 89, like an hour and a half west.
Yeah.
But it's out towards maybe Mount Forest. You know where that is?
Yes, I performed in Mount Forest as well. I've been all over the place, dude.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So yeah, it's not too far from here.
Yeah, I performed in a church at Mount Forest.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, a church / community center thingy.
Yep.
Yeah. I've been doing this too long, man. I've done a lot of things in my life, traveled all over the place. I think because of the amount of time. Okay, so I used to work. My dad used to work for Pan American. So as a kid, every holidays we were flying somewhere. So I traveled a lot as a kid. As I got older, I started to date my eventual wife. She used to work for KLM. So that was my Europe connections, because every time we left Trinidad, we had to go through Amsterdam. I've been to Amsterdam like 16 times or something like that. And then from there to all different points. And then my wife started to work at Air Canada, and that opened up Canada. Right? And then I started to work at Air Canada. I've paid for, in my lifetime, one airline trip. And that was because when I went to Australia, my uncle was with me, couldn't use the same kind of passes that I had. And we had to buy a flight at 6 a.m. because the cheaper flights are early in the morning. So 6 a.m. flight from Sydney to Brisbane. That was the only plane ticket I've ever bought in my entire life. But because of all that travel, and I tell this to everybody, the more you travel, the less racist you can be. Because the more you travel and the more you see and the more cultures that you experience, foods that you eat, you'll start to realize the human condition. That's what it is. It might be somebody of a darker skin. It might be somebody of a lighter skin. They might have different shaped eyes. They might have a different God or gods or no God at all, right? They might have a different language, but we are all trying to better ourselves, trying to sow our seeds, right? Protect our loved ones, have a home to call our own. It's so basic when it comes to the human condition. I think that if more people travel, the more they open their mind, the more that all the things that we look around the world that is causing all of this stress and strife, it'll go away. Yeah. Personal belief, right?
I agree.
And then you'll get people like me who are transplanted from the Caribbean into the frozen tundra, right? That will be able to, tell people, no, I've seen the other side. Y'all don't want to live the way that we used to live, or y'all don't want to be or you don't realize how good you have it. Because I've seen poverty, I've seen strife, I've seen a little bit of success, right? If you see all of it in life, man, shit changes everything, yo.
Oh, for sure.
And you okay, so I've seen you on the top of some rock formation, like you're a camper.
Yeah.
You like going out into the bush.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Even though you look very coiffed now, you're a bushman. Where were you recently that I saw a picture of you on a big rock? Where was that?
The most recent one, that was Takakaw Falls in Yoho National Park.
Where's that?
Border of British Columbia and Alberta. So it's just west of Banff National Park.
Oh, I've done Banff, but I didn't go camping. and I've done Canmore and seen the Three Sisters, but I did not go camping. This is what I tell people about Canada. Canada is so gorgeous, but most Canadians don't travel. Like they'll travel to Cancun, and they'll travel down to the Caribbean, but Canadians don't. Within Ontario alone, there's so many things to see in a province that you could drive for 12 hours and still be in the province, right? There's so much to see here. This is one of the glorious things of the pandemic. It has caused people to look around what they have here as opposed to, because they can't fly. So more people are doing staycations and going up to, Tobermory or, these areas here. It's so beautiful here, man.
Oh, I know.
As a mountain biker, I get to see some of it, but there's so much more to see.
Yeah. Well, like I took my wife up to Thunder Bay for a week back in August because I used to live up there and visiting some friends and that kind of thing. And she always complained because she's from the East Coast that Ontario is so flat. And where we live, I agree with you. But she hasn't been very far north, right? Yeah. So once we started driving, her eyes were just, Yeah, the topography changes. Look at me using all these big words and shit, right? The topography changes when you drive a little further. Oh yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, dude, Canada is gorgeous. And then you have the seasons in the Caribbean. We don't have seasons per se. We have wet season and dry season, right? You'll have, spring, summer, fall, winter. Wet and hot. Hot and hotter. No, it's always hot. Hot don't change. That's what I'm saying. You have hot and hotter. Yeah. Hot and wet. We have hot and wet, right? Yep. I always use, it's a common joke in the Caribbean. The weatherman has the easiest job because he comes out and says the same thing. Hey, it might rain. This is the temperature. Watch out for the rough water, right? It's the same thing every single day. I don't know what his job is. Sometimes he'll say, there's a hurricane, but nothing else. It's so stupid. Tonight you might see lightning. Dude, in Florida, it was a running joke inside of my family because in Florida, it rains every day at 5. There's always a thunderstorm at 5. You go to whether it's down on the peninsula or further up the coast, right? There's always a thunderstorm rolling in at 5 o'clock. Always. It's pretty, you can set your watch by this thing. And it's like an oven, and then comes this moisture. And then all the heat comes off of the concrete because there's no asphalt in Florida. It's all concrete. Everything is concrete. And then that just comes up and you steam fry your body every day at 5. They're mad. I don't know how anybody could live there. That's a crazy town. That whole spot is crazy. It's like, I don't know. I think America, it's like what would be the right thing? A colander where everything that the sediments of American society settles down in Florida. Just drains down there, man. Everything crazy happens in Florida. Florida hasn't closed down for the entire pandemic, yo. They closed down for 2 weeks. Everything's open in Florida. There's no masks in Florida. Yeah. Yeah, everybody's just greasy right now in Florida. I don't get it, but they're not dying. I don't know what's going on, man. Maybe they are dying and they're just not telling us. I don't know. How's the pandemic been treating you and coaching? I mean, have you all gone through the open, close thing? No. Basically, Jason, the head coach at the gym, is basically handling everything at the moment. So, I haven't coached since we shut down at the beginning of the pandemic. I believe that shit is gonna come back in a big way, but in the meantime, boy, I feel for all these small businesses. Of course, I am one, but I feel for all these small businesses going through all of this, man, because I'm glad the government is helping, but it's just staying alive isn't something everybody wants. Everybody wants to strive, to succeed, to pursue their passions. Yeah.
Right now, it's just everybody's in a stalemate. Say, I
Yeah.
want to move, can't move. I want to go, can't go. I want to do, can't do. Like, I've been suckling on the Serb tit since the beginning. Well, not the beginning. It's been tough. It's been tough. But I sincerely believe, and it could be just hopeful thinking, that things are going to come back in a deluge. It's just going to come back hard because people are going to respect the fact that you get to do something because they had a year of doing nothing. And some people have suffered, but some people have done well because, you know, all of a sudden they're not going out on a Friday, on a weekend. So that money that they would have traveled and they're taking the family to Epcot Center or whatever it is, they've been able to keep that money and not eat out. And so when it does open up and people get the opportunity to come back out again, I think it's going to come back hard and fast. And people are going to be very thankful for the opportunity to come out. And I think more people will be coming out to the MMA gyms because the UFC was the only thing on. And that's been a great advertising campaign, right? There's nothing else but them. There was nothing else to watch. There was no other sport going on. UFC was the only thing that was on. I think the crowds are going to be coming back into, you know, there's going to be people signing up for BJJ, wrestling, you know, taekwondo. There are people coming in, man. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
That would be pretty awesome. We'll see.
Yeah.
I just want this thing to be over.
Yeah, dude, it's coming to an end. It is coming to an end with everybody getting the vaccines and stuff like that. Yeah, there's going to be a little chatter about, you know, things that happen because of a vaccine, but that's with all medicines. All medicines have side effects, right? And isolated cases. So there's going to be that, but most people are going to take it. I mean, there's going to be the conspiracy theorists that are like, no, but most people are going to take it and things will start to get back into shape.
Yeah.
And then I'll no longer have to take Serb.
You can get back on stage.
Dude, dying.
Donovan's House of Laughs.
That was our mental therapy, right? So there's a lot of comedians that are going through. I know comedians right now that have social media platforms where they're advertising that they can be personal trainers. And I know it's because they've been suffering and not eating. So that's why they got skinny. It wasn't because they were training. It's because they got no money. Whatever, dude. Do whatever you have to do. Whatever makes you happy. Whatever gets you ahead. Whatever.
Are you ready? Don't eat.
Dude, the amount of OnlyFans accounts that have been signed up by comedians, I'm telling you guys, there's all kinds of pictures of feet going out there. I'm like, I don't judge. I don't care. Do what you had to do. I'm not one of those people that, you know, I'm on a high horse. Like, do that, man. Whatever.
Oh, you're not going to start yourself an OnlyFans channel? Come on.
I swear to you, when I first heard about OnlyFans, I thought it was a platform for artists. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was, oh, great. We get to have our own social media thing just for our fans. It's called OnlyFans. Oh, great. We get to communicate direct. And then I found out what OnlyFans was. And I was like, oh, that's what that is. No clue. Big money, though. There's big money in it. You can, and you don't even have to be doing naughty stuff. But there's fetishes out there, man. There's people that like feet and elbows and whatever, side boobs. There's so many. Hey, I don't judge, man.
Well, whatever floats your boat.
In my beginning, like I said, because I've traveled a lot, I've been introduced a lot. I'm not going to say where it was or who introduced me to it, but there's a fetish night downtown Toronto that I was introduced to and welcomed to attend. And I went because as a comedian and as an individual, I'm eternally curious. And I saw some fetishes inside there that I didn't know existed. I mean, there's traditional ones, right?
Are you talking about subspace?
I don't know the term subspace. Is that a thing? That's a club? What's that?
No, that was like that was like a fetish event that used to be held in Toronto. Like if you walk past the event, like there'd be people standing outside with like, you know, old dudes with collars, and like there's some gothic chick holding on to it. Like,
Okay, wait. On it's a monthly event, yes?
possibly.
Do you remember what
I don't know.
club
I
it was
never
held at?
attended. I just know a few people that have. So
Yeah.
I've heard about it plenty.
No, there's fetish wear, right?
Yeah.
Which is the leather and stuff like that. There's a particular company that used to sponsor that one. I can't remember their name right now, but there was a separate one to that where it was the actual fetishes. All right, I'll give you an example. There are people that like to cut themselves. That's a fetish, right?
Oh yeah.
This is not just a secret word thing. It's they like to feel a blade. I saw a guy impaled on a cross and being cut and smiling because that was his thing. He enjoyed that. I saw a guy that would show up if you had a yellow towel because he was the piss boy. I was familiar with the original ones, but my mind wasn't open to all the rest of them. I mean, there's the things like the glory wall and all that kind of stuff.
There's a fetish for everything, my man.
There's more too. There's more. And I enjoyed learning about it. I didn't say I participated in any, but I did enjoy. I did comedy at one of the clubs down in Etobicoke. I think it's called M4 or M3.
M4. Yeah.
M4. Yeah, I did comedy there. And then I have to make sure when I tell people I performed at a sex club that they realize I meant I performed comedy at a sex club. Some of them
you
think
were there before midnight. Is that what you're saying?
Dude. I had invitations. Anyway. Everybody's like, "You're taking your wife?" I'm like, no. Not taking the wife. I'll tell her about it afterwards. I'm not gonna tell her at the time.
That's hilarious.
So I had a joke that I used to tell people that you have to have a lot of belly to go to a sex club, and I was right. There's a lot of bellies at the sex club. It's a heavyweight joke. Anyway,
Bodies of all different shapes and sizes there.
who am I to judge? I don't judge, right?
Oh,
And there were some guys there that were there specifically to show off, if you know what I mean, right? Y'all shouldn't be there. You're in a different category, sir. Go and sweep the floor with that. It's just too much.
When did you go and perform there?
What month? I think it was like October 2019. Not too sure. It was cold outside. I remember that, but it wasn't too cold.
Was it in the basement, or was it the new place on the main floor?
No, main floor, at the back of the strip mall, right?
Yeah, so that's the new place just off Dundas.
Yes. Yeah, that's the new spot. That's the one I did.
Yeah. I don't know where it is.
Oh, you do. But you knew it was new.
There's actually a really good burger spot just down the road from there too. It's called
Was that Five Guys?
No, C-Dubs.
I just watched Battlestar Galactica, and one guy played for a pyramid team, some kind of ball game, and they were called the C-Dubs. What does C-Dub mean? Is it like a hidden meaning? C-Dubs?
I don't know. When I was born till I was about 3, 4, I lived a little further down the road from there, and that's where my dad grew up too. So there's this burger joint that we would go to when we were kids. So whenever I'm in the area, I still pop in there. My dad passed away back in 2017, so it's just like a little, salute to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a burger joint called C-Dubs, and it's amazing. It's actually in the movie Billy Madison, when they're racing the pickles, that's the restaurant that it was at.
No, I don't think I saw
You
that
haven't seen
movie.
Billy Madison?
I don't think so. I'll put it on the list.
You're just not a Sandler fan, I'm guessing. Then.
No, not that much.
That's okay.
You saw his last stand-up special? It was good though. It was brilliant.
It was.
It was absolutely brilliant. Lighting, score, everything. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I'm
in the beginning,
not a huge fan of his stand-up. I find it really, really hit and miss. But yeah, I thought he did an amazing job.
No, that last one was fantastic. As I've gotten older, I look at things differently now. This is why I go back and I look, because of my ADHD, my memory sucks. But I'm looking at all these old things again to see if they hold up through the test of time. You know what I mean? Because they were so formative. They were so, you got so excited about them the first time they came around. I wanted to see if they hold water. Right. Some of the shows, the storyline are great, but of course, the graphics back in those days sucked. You just look at it now. I mean, Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, I don't know if you're a big sci-fi fan, but at the time, it was a series that everybody was raving over. You look at it now, and the storyline kind of holds up, but of course, graphics. But for the time, it was great. Yeah. You look at things with graphics now and you're like, oh my God, the things that we have the ability to trick you with now is amazing, stunning. My kids, I got, because of the whole pandemic and not being able to travel, we picked up an Oculus. So the VR. Yeah. Dude, that stuff is nuts.
Isn't it trippy?
Oh, dude, I'm stunned. Because, I'm older than you, right? So I remember playing Pong. And Pong was black and white, right? It wasn't in color. I remember when Pong was, I don't know, was it 2-bit, 4-bit, whatever it was. It's just a little bit, right? Dunk, dunk, dunk. And we got excited about that because we got to play a video game on the TV. Oh my God, you had to hook up. But now you just slap something on your eyes and you're not playing a game, you're in the game. You're sweating because you're hearing footsteps behind you. And when you swing around, you get this, nah, man, nah. This is like Star Trek there was a name for the room that they were in, the holodeck. Remember that, the holodeck?
Not a sci-fi fan.
No, curse you. How could you not be a sci-fi fan?
My wife says the same thing, man. She's been trying to get me into like the Dune series forever. Can't do it.
There's a big Dune movie coming out, yo. Oh.
Maybe you two can go see it together then.
Are you a comic book fan?
Yeah.
So all the Marvel movies and stuff like that, you enjoy that?
For the most part.
Dude, for the most part? How could you not be like, oh my God? How could you not?
There's a couple that are amazing. There's a few that are just like, eh.
Which one's eh?
Right. I found Green Lantern.
Okay, that's DC. Totally different universe. DC sucks.
We're talking about comic books, aren't we?
Yeah, but there's the DC universe and there's the Marvel universe. Like the only thing that DC has been able to do well is Batman, when what Nolan did it, and they had Bane, that series, that 3-part thing. So the Batman Begins, Batman Returns one. All right, those were good, and the Justice League was kind of okay. The Schneider cut, incredible, right? So those, yeah. But everything Marvel was incredible. There wasn't one that I could, which would be my least favorite. Iron Fist, the Marvel series on Netflix. Iron Fist, no? Daredevil.
What's the
Punisher? You've watched nothing from Marvel on Netflix?
Doctor Strange.
Okay, Doctor Strange is part of the Marvel universe. So you enjoyed Doctor Strange. Benedict Cumberbatch?
No, that one was okay, right? Like I had a bit higher expectations because of Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think they did a bad job, you know what I mean? But
Okay. What is your genre of series that you like to watch? You like dramas?
when it comes to movies,
Yeah.
yeah, probably mystery, like drama, mystery, crime mystery, that kind of thing.
Crime mystery?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I enjoy those kinds of things. Like what's a good one? Well, I don't think it's really a mystery at that point, but The Departed, great movie, right? You haven't seen The Departed?
I'm pretty sure I must have. It sounds familiar.
It's got like Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, Martin Sheen, Leonardo DiCaprio.
I must have seen that.
Yeah, it's an incredible movie. Jack Nicholson.
Oh, I must have seen that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give, here's what I'll do. I'll give you a Marvel series to watch
Okay.
that aligns with, go and watch The Punisher.
Okay.
It's on Netflix, right? But The Punisher it's not superhero-y, right? It's kind of like a revenge mystery tough guy kind of thing. So I think the Punisher might be along your lines. No superhuman powers, right? He was a veteran, right? Sort of like how the Steven Seagal films were, a vet that is just so good that they had to dumb him down and then bring him into, he's a chef, but he was part of the SEAL Team 6, you know what I mean? Just an elite kind of guy. I think the Punisher would align with you. And then he's a little darker. He's not, a goody-goody kind of guy. So it's a little gritty, a little grimy. Right?
Oh,
yeah.
So I'm looking at like a list of Marvel movies right now. One that I really Ant-Man. Ant-Man was a good one.
Oh, that's because you like the comedy. You like the comedy aspect of Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah. Oh, Ant-Man was great.
Yeah. I think you'll enjoy Punisher if you peep that. Yeah. I enjoyed Punisher tremendously. I remember when the movie came out and it was John Travolta that did Punisher. That's not a good one to watch. No. That one sucked.
I can't picture him a tough guy.
You know the guy who played
that movie Gotti? Did you see Gotti? That was terrible.
Oh, that was horrible. Do you remember this series Walking Dead?
Yeah.
In the early part of Walking Dead, the main character had a good friend who was also a cop.
Yeah, that guy's the Punisher.
That guy's played the Punisher, and an exceptional actor. He's good. Yeah. He's good as a dark actor, boy. It was nice. Yeah.
I got
peep that one.
Week, so I'll be sure to check that out.
Yeah, peep that one. Put that one on the list and then send me a message and tell me if you're like, you know what? I'm 3 episodes in and this might be nice. It's dark.
It's a series?
Yeah, guy, it's a series.
Oh, sweet. All right.
Yeah, 2 seasons. Lots of blood. Lots of big weapons. Enough killing, guy. Enough killing. Like a John Wick kind of thing. It's like, I can't keep up with the death count. This is too much now. It's nice. All right, boy. Let me bust. I kept you far too long. We've touched on all kinds of topics. And I will have this podcast ready within the next day or so. And then I'll be slamming it up on YouTube. And I'm going to put your little Instagram handle at the bottom there. Do you teach like private lessons and stuff like that in terms of wrestling and stuff? Or it's just through Empire?
No, I do. I coach wherever people need me.
Yeah, takes that money, guy. I ain't going to complain about that. And then hopefully when things come back, I could have you coming back out to the clubs and sitting in the front row and laughing at all the comedy shows once again.
Yeah, great time, man. I love going to those shows.
I am a firm believer, as you know, that laughter is necessary in one's life to be able to cleanse, right? And when they say that laughter is the best medicine, I sincerely think that it is, but I'm a little biased, right? Some people might not share the same philosophy, but that's mine. I think it can heal. I think it's a healing thing. They should call me Dr. Trinidad.
Facts.
I'll hold out to the day when I get that doctorate, that honorary doctorate. Thank you very much for coming on, Mark Trinidad. I don't know shit and educating me, my friend. Who knows? Maybe I could get the kids back into wrestling.
Oh,
I'll try.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one.